Hey everybody, this is Sean Harrington. In this episode, we're going to figure out how we program these chips, the ROM chip, the AY-GAL, and the RRU-GAL. The device we're going to use is a very common device. This one is called TL8662, and that's II plus version. The programmer of it is a company called XGEKU. Expensive. You can get it for less than $70. If you do a lot of retro gaming, whether it's in arcades or whether it's on systems like the Aquarius, it serves you well if you have one of these devices. It's a USB device, plugs in to just a regular USB port. There are some drivers, there is some Chinese software, and that makes people a little nervous, but it's actually fine. Your virus protection may scream a little bit, but it's more than likely if you get it from a reputable vendor. If you get it from XGEKU, it should be fine. For those of you who are a little more nervous about it, you can run it within a protected environment. I think there are Mac and Linux versions of it, but that's not what I use. So let's take a little look at some of the pictures. So I mentioned the XGEKU. Let's go over to the Aquarius MX GitHub site. I'm going to share the screen here. So if we go to the Aquarius MX GitHub site, we've seen this all before. The software we're going to be most concerned about is here in this software folder. Now you'll notice that there is a source folder, SRC, that stands for source code. While the source code for the two GAL chips and the ROM is in here, this is not what you need. You want to go back up to the main level and go to the software folder. Within the software folder, you want what's in the bin or the binary file, and you want these three files. There are two JED files and one BIN file. JED files are what you use to program the GAL chips, and the bin file, the binary file, is what you use to program the ROM itself. So let's go back and take a little look at the chips we're going to be programming. If you take a look at the bill of materials, you'll notice that it says you need a couple of chips here. You need a WinBond 27C512AP DIP 28.6. That just means it's a 28-pin chip. You need one of those. Those are $7-ish. If you buy them off of eBay or something like that. Buy them from a reputable vendor. If you can get one from your local country rather than China. Not that there's anything wrong with China, but sometimes there are counterfeit chips that come through. Get it from a reputable dealer who you know you can return stuff to. And then you'll also want two GAL, GAL 16V8 chips. Let's take a look at the specific markings on those chips here. Here's my Zoom directory. What I meant to do is go here. Okay, so I've got three image files that I'm going to show here. So if we look really closely, here is the WinBond chip. It is a W27C512. Don't worry about the dash. That's a particular run number that they had. But we want the WinBond W27C512 chip. You need one of those. That is a 512 byte. 512 byte? Yes, 512 byte device. So you get 4 pages of 16. The next thing is the Atmel F16V8C chip. Now these numbers are important because when we actually get into the program, you're going to see why you need them. What I've also done is I have a couple of labels that I've created on my little brother label maker so that I can keep track of the chips. And then again, here's a picture of how you insert the chips. Here's the ROM. There's a little divot up here, and it shows that you put that divot at the top. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to open up the program. Let's go ahead and minimize this. We're going to go back in case we need to bring up the GitHub site. We assume that we have already downloaded the items in this bin folder. I have them over here. Image, let's go up, software, bin. This is the folder that I'm going to reference. I have a local copy of it on my system. So I'm going to minimize this, put that over here. So the first software that we are going to use is the software that comes with the XGECU or the TL866-2 Plus unit, the chip writer that you can, again, get off of eBay. The icon for it looks like this. It says XG Pro. I'm going to load it up. And you notice that it's got a little bit of an upgrade here. We're not going to do that right now. It sees that we have our programmer plugged in. There are a couple of other different models. We're just going to focus on this one. So what we want to do first is let's program the ROM chip. And again, that's a WinBond chip. We are going to put it into the chip reader. When you have the chip reader, this little lever is up. You want to make sure that the divot at the top of the chip is pointing up like it shows here on the icon. And you want to drop the latch. I try to center them a little bit so it gets best contact. And we now have our chip in place. So now we need to tell the software, the XGECU Pro software, which chip. I already have mine shown here, but the way you can get these is you click on this chip, you click on this thing, and you want to search for devices. We're going to look for WinBond. We're going to set all. And this is all the WinBond chips. Remember, we're looking for a W27, so let's scroll through this list. And there's a lot of WinBond chips here, so we're going to go down here. Sorry, this is taking so long. Okay, W27C512, and that is this one right here, W27C512. It is a DIP28, and that is in fact what we have. I already have mine listed here. I don't want it to show up twice. So here it is, W27C512 DIP28. So just to be safe, we're going to read the chip to make sure. This shows you where it should be seated. So let's read it. Read finished. And in fact, it is all blank. That's exactly what we expect it to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to load the binary file. We're going to browse to that folder, and I, in fact, already have it here. We will be using the JED files later, but for now we're going to use this bin file. Notice that it's 64K, which again, if you do the math, 16 times 4, which I mentioned earlier, is 64K. And that is how much these WinBond 27C512 chips hold. So we're going to pick that up. We're going to say OK. And here it is. You can kind of scroll through it. There's a little bit of text in here, but most of it's just nonsense. Fill byte, here's some other stuff here that's interesting to look at. But so what we're going to do is make sure we're at W27C512 DIP16. We are going to program this device, this icon right here. All of these things, the default pin detector, erase before, verify after, skip blank. We're not going to do a blank check. We are going to check the ID just to make sure that it is, the signature is a WinBond chip. And we click right here and we do program. We bring up this window, click program. Takes about 5-10 seconds to go through. It's already about a quarter of the way done. And what it'll do is it'll program it, and then it'll actually go back through and very quickly verify that everything that was in the file is actually on the chip. It's doing a comparison between the buffer that we have here and what's actually on the chip. And verifying, and there it is. And it's programmed. So what you can do is, here's your chip, you release it, take it out, and it's good to go. I'm going to put it back in here for just a second because I'm going to put that label on it that I created, the little teeny tiny label, just so I don't forget. If I set it aside, I've got actually a lot of little ROM chips on here. I want to make sure I don't forget what that is. And go and put it there. When it's in the chip carrier, it actually makes it easier to put the label on. So we can see, here's our little ROM chip. It's good to go. Okay, now we're going to take one of the GAL chips, and again, it has a little divot at the top. We're going to put it in, center it, and you can see here it is, again, pushed to the top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to program the AY GAL. The process is basically the same. Now we're going to, from this list, we are going to, oh, I forgot, I'm gonna go back on this. We are going to click here, and now we're going to look for ATMEL, A-T-M-E-L. And the device we're looking for is an AT-F16V C. So that is right here, AT-F16V C. This one doesn't show that it's a DIP 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20. It doesn't show that it's a DIP 20, but we assume that it is. So it's this one right here. We would select that. Again, I already have the list here. Here's the 16C. I don't think I've got a Z version, so we're going to do that. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to load a file. So this time, it knows that it is a GAL chip. So now it will only show the 2 GED files. It defaults to that. The binary file is still in here, but again, it's a context-sensitive dialog. So we're going to first do the AY chip. Now we are going to program this chip. And that's it. Automatically verified it. So that is all of the pins. So the GAL chip is programmed. It was really just that simple. Similarly, I'm going to take this chip off of here, or the label off of here, and I'm going to install that on top of the chip. Well, at least I thought I was. My eyes are getting bad. You want to make sure I get the right chip for that because there are 2 of these. Pull that off. And I promised I would make this video a little bit shorter. So I'm going to set this. And here is the AY MX chip. Okay, then we take the last GAL chip right here. We put it into the same position that the other one was. Set it top of the thing. And now we are going to, again, we still stay at this AT-F16LB8C. This time we're going to load up the RRU, RAM, ROM, USB GED file. And then we're going to program it. Perfect. So that chip is programmed. That is how you program the 2 chips. Or sorry, the 3 chips, my bad. Let me go ahead and put this label on there. And here it is. And it'll be, these will be ready to go into the next Aquarius MX unit that I program. When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and close this program and close the window out. Stop the share. When I'm done, I like to keep my chips on a program board to keep them anti-static safe. I use, whenever I see these pieces of black, this is anti-static. You can find them in Monitor packaging, if you ever get a new monitor or any piece of electronics, this is good for that. So I keep my my ROMs together with my two GALs, two GAL chips. It's the RRU and the AY. So there they are right there. They're ready to go. So that's all there is to it. The next video, we will put the device, the whole MX together, and we'll do some tests on it. But I know that this was one of the more mystifying parts for me when I first was working on the Aquarius micro expander. I had no idea how to program the ROM. I had no idea how to program the GAL. So thanks to Mac Wharton for talking me through that. Proficient enough where I can do it and teach it. So look forward to talking to you on the next video on how to put this whole thing together and test it.